Reflections on creation research, practice-led research, and practice as research. Pushing against institutional limits. I'm Magrin-Chagnolleau. I do research for the CNRS, a nationwide research institute in France. I'm currently affiliated with the PRISM laboratory in Marseille and with Chapman University in California. I'm also an artist, working at times in film, theater, photography, music, and writing. So an important part of my recent research has been developed inside the paradigm of creation research. What are we speaking about? We are speaking about a concept, a paradigm, an object that has been given many names and is polymorph. That's because of its polymorph nature that this paradigm has been given many names. I think we can all agree that one of the main purposes is to give credit to practice. Practice has been in the heart of generating new knowledge for ages. Practice has probably always been at the heart of generating new knowledge, but that point isn't always so obvious. It's quite obvious that practice has always generated skills. We practice to learn a language. We practice to learn singing or a musical instrument. We practice to learn sports and so on. But how can practice be related to generating knowledge? And why is this notion sometimes so difficult to defend in an academic environment? Before I address this question and many more exciting questions, let's go back to the various names of this paradigm. We can find practice as research, practice-led research, research creation, creation research, research-based creation, artistic research, art research, creative research, and many more. So let's try to find the commonality of all those definitions. The first commonality that is named in some of those expressions and simply implied in others is practice. We are here dealing with practice. The paradigm relies on practice. So, no matter what, someone is practicing something. Sometimes it's an art practice, but it can be extended, in fact, to any kind of practice. The second commonality is that we are dealing with research. So through that practice, there is this ambition of doing research. What does it mean to do research? It means generating new knowledge. But the knowledge has to be new to the scientific community, not just to the subject. So if you are, for instance, practicing singing, you are generating new knowledge about the singing gesture, but you are generating it for yourself. This is not new knowledge to other people and to the scientific community, unless, of course, you are discovering something new from a practical and/or theoretical point of view while doing it. The word community here is more important than it sounds. Indeed, for a research to be recognized as such, it has to be recognized by the community, by peers. This is usually done through blind reviews of papers. if you want some new knowledge to be recognized as new knowledge, you have to write a paper, send it to a blind peer-reviewed journal, and have it accepted. In other words, you need your research to be co-opted by usually at least 2 of your peers. So, in a way, research, in order to be accepted, whether this is research based on practice or not, has to be consensual enough inside the community where you are submitting it, but at the same time has to be original enough. The more original it is, the more you have to show how it relates to previously published works. Let's go back now to the paradigm of practice as research, and to the value of practice for research and for generating new knowledge. How can practice be part of research? How can practice be at the heart of a device that generates new knowledge? I'd like to answer that question in the form of examples. In 2014, I created a journal, performance.org, with several goals in mind. I wanted a scholarly space to allow people to publish contributions in the field of artistic practice as research, or which I prefer to call creation research. The first volume was even dedicated to the topic of the artist researcher and constitutes a sort of manifesto for the journal. I also wanted the journal to be online and open. Online so that contributors could add audio and video files to their submissions, and even propose a submission in the form of an audio or video file, and open so that no one would have to pay anything to publish their contribution or to access a contribution. The journal covers performing arts, visual arts, sound arts, and any other contemporary performative art forms. The current volume, which is number 6, is dedicated precisely to creation research. After having explored theater education in number 2, cuisine and performance in number 3, the creative process in number 4, healing art in number 5, I thought it was time to revisit this notion of creation research. And I was delighted by the large range of contributions I received. Each of them helps clarify this paradigm, delineating some territory for it. One example that I found particularly interesting was a contribution by a musician, a guitar player, who did a transcription for guitar of a piece by Bartók that wasn't initially written for guitar. She did that transcription in order to perform the piece in concert herself. In the paper, she explains some of the choices she made while doing the transcription, how some of those choices were made while actually practicing or trying to practice the piece on the guitar. And as she did this transcription, she also came up with some new musicological ideas about Bartók and that piece. This is a wonderful example of how practice can be part of research and generate new knowledge. I don't think she planned on discovering those new findings about Bartók and his music when she started to work on the piece. And I'm not even sure she intended to explain her musicological choices as she worked on the transcription. But I like to think that this is the practice that led her to this new knowledge, and then this knowledge was accepted as being scientific, that is, accepted by peers for publication. Another example was the video of a performance that was devised to question the nature of art and performance. In other words, a performance to question performance. Is it still research? Is the performance itself research, or is it the result of research? Is the performance the way to present the fruit of this research, or is the performing artist still doing research while presenting the performance? This is another example of a research process done through practice, but one that also questions the best way to present this type of research. Is it through the writing of a paper, or can new knowledge be disseminated experientially, like in that case through a performance, and the experience that the audience goes through while attending it? As I was working on the editorial for this current volume, I was wondering what was the commonality of all those contributions and how they would help me get a clearer idea of this creation research paradigm. And I realized something. The knowledge that is generated from practice and from practitioners is usually a type of knowledge that non-practitioners could not come up with. So there is something unique in the posture of being a practitioner in research. Someone who practices an art form, an instrument, pedagogy, etc., has a unique position on the explored topic, because practice gives insights, and then those insights might be developed into new knowledge, or not. But again, this is just the first step. If I'm curious enough and open enough during my practice, then I might have the opportunity to experience something that could be an insight of importance, a golden nugget. And then the rest of the work will resemble the work that any researcher does. Test the insight, explore it, experiment further, come up with a formulation of the insight, and then decide if and when it is worth publishing. The main difference is that the starting point is practice. But then, maybe the starting point of any research is always practice, except that it is not always an artistic or a creative practice. Sometimes it is simply practicing research itself. Thank you for your attention. This is a very valuable gift nowadays. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, found it worth of your time and stimulating. I encourage you to get in touch with me if you have any questions or comments, or simply want to discuss some of the ideas I presented here. You can reach me at the email address that is now on the screen. Have a great day.